everybody. My name is Tim Hay, and I'm with NASPO Value Point, and I'm the Lead Cooperative Development Coordinator. And I'd like to welcome you to today's PowerPoint State Kickoff webinar presentation for training for procurement professionals. Before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping items. We are recording today's webinars, and it will be available up on the NASPO Value Point website a little later on today. Also, if you could please mute your phones if you are in a noisy area, or if you have to leave your desk for any reason, please mute your phones. Do not use the hold feature. Some state phone systems have that wonderful on-hold music, and it can cause disruptions to webinars. So please use the mute button rather than the hold button. And we will take questions at the end of today's presentation, so please follow along and just keep track of your questions, and then we will take those at the end. I'd like to introduce Catherine Bosdell from the Commonwealth of Virginia. She is our lead state contract administrator for this portfolio, and she has a wonderful presentation today to talk about these 10 new contracts that we have available. So Catherine, I'll turn the presentation over to you.
Thanks, Tim. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining the webinar. I really appreciate you phoning in on it. And we'll start off with the next slide, which is we'll tell you about the sourcing team members. And we had 6 members, and it was made up of me and Linda Morris and David Nims from the state of Virginia, Jan Hall from Oklahoma, Mara Smith from Hawaii, and Tim Hay from NASPO Value Point. And we started out with Paul Stembler, and after he retired, Tim took over for the NASPO Value Point coordinator job. There was a need for procurement professional training that was identified, so Virginia took the lead for an RFP for the provision of training services for public procurement professionals, consisting of training instruction, course development, and course customization. The draft RFP was released on March 2015 to the Chief Procurement Officers, and 6 states agreed to sign an intent to participate, and those states were Hawaii, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Nevada, Oregon, and Utah. We issued the RFP on May 29, 2015, and held an optional pre-proposal conference on June 16th with about 25 attendees on the phone or in person, and then the RFP closed on July 16, 2015. We received a total of 10 proposals, and we evaluated 10 proposals. The first phase was the proposal compliance evaluation, and it had 2 parts using the pass-fail method. The first part was the mandatory RFP requirements and mandatory terms and conditions compliance, and the second part was meeting the minimum quality standards requirements. The sourcing team considered it important that any offer awarded a contract upheld high standards of program quality, so they developed 2 types of quality standards. Type 1 was that the offer had to be accredited by at least 1 continuing education program to provide continuing education units, professional development units, or continuing professional education credits. The sourcing team considered continuing education programs of this caliber to have high accreditation standards, so they felt confident that if accredited, the offer upheld high program quality standards. If the offer was not accredited, they still had a chance to comply in Type 2 by submitting documentation demonstrating that all 10 of these quality standards were upheld. So they had to submit each one of these quality standard documents. So they had to submit a purpose statement, quality assurance compliance job description, instructional design model used for designing courses, a sample training instructor's guide, an instructional designers and training instructors job descriptions, instructor professional development policy, an ethics policy, learning outcome assessment measurement, learning event record-keeping procedures, and client satisfaction survey of instructor and content. So if they made it past that pass-fail phase, then phase 2 was the technical proposal evaluation. There were 4 criteria with point values totaling 100. So the first criteria was demonstrated experience and qualifications of the offerer, development and training staff resources, which had a point value of 20. Criteria 2 was services and courses offered to include the curriculum offerings, which had, for example, procurement, project management, or business skills courses. The diversity of delivery method, which would be a classroom delivery or synchronous or asynchronous online courses. Learning support system, geographic service area, customization, and then certification and degrees offered, and that had the highest point value at 50. The point values for the small business subcontracting plan was 10, and then the pricing proposal was 20, and they were the evaluation points were derived from mathematical formulas. This is the pricing schedule that was issued with the RFP. The scenario was that there were 3 training categories: procurement, project management, and business skills, and each had a classroom delivery format, and there would be 20 students per class. So the offerer had to give per person catalog price, discounted price, and then the whole percentage discount. I averaged the total discounted price by the number of prices submitted by the offerer on their pricing schedule, and that's how I derived the price to be used in the pricing formula. So here are the final evaluation results from the sourcing team. There's a wide point value range from 51.10 to 82.43, but the sourcing team provided adequate justification to award to all of these offerers by concluding that together the proposals presented a diverse group of offerings with little duplication in courses and would be beneficial to all the states. The master agreements were awarded on June 2nd, 2016 to all 10 offerers. The awards were rolling, so the start dates vary by contractor. The initial term is the start date through June 30th, 2018, with 4 one-year renewal options, and so the maximum contract term is 6 years. All the agreements use this training pricing model where the course description plus the length of the training time, which could be a few hours to several days, plus the number of students, plus the instructional delivery method will equal the price of the course. But we knew that because of unique training needs, there would be services that would fall outside of the pricing model. That would require negotiations, and those needs could include if it was just a single standalone course or a whole program of classes, the number of students, if there was any course customization or development involved, and the type of instructional delivery method. The training courses fall under 6 categories. Business competencies would include ethics, critical thinking, and presentation skills. The UPPCC body of knowledge would include planning, contract management, and negotiations. The supplier management category would include market analysis, performance metrics, and relationship management. Project management body of knowledge, or the PMBOK, would include scope management, time management, and quality management. The supply chain management would include logistics, strategic sourcing, and marketing, and legal aspects would include practical applications, terms and conditions, and disputes. So these are just a few of the classes that would be under each of these categories that these contracts offer. I think that this statement is not only an attribute of the master agreements, but it's a good description of the master agreements in general, in that they offer a comprehensive and diverse list of professional procurement, business skills, and project management standard, customized, and developed training courses for the enhancement of professional procurement skills at all levels using multiple instructional delivery methods with an opportunity to earn education credits. There's been a lot of interest since the agreements were awarded and posted because of these favorable attributes. There are multiple contracts that provide states with many options on courses and delivery methods. There's negotiated pricing and terms, with also the ability to negotiate to meet the unique training needs of that entity. We have experienced trainers and speakers available, and the speakers could also be used for conference workshops. And there's the ability to customize courses to meet the unique needs of each state and have state-specific regulations and procedures in those courses. And finally, there's the potential for developing certification programs that are unique to the state. There are some differences in the master agreements. There's the pricing, and then there's the courses per contract. And then some contracts offer a train-the-trainer program, and others don't, but some would be happy to develop them for you. How the training materials are handled are different. Some of the contractors allow the entities to print the materials on their end. However, some of the contractors really want to maintain strict controls of what is being printed. So they have the printing done and then shipped to the entity. Customization of materials is different because there's different course designer pricing involved. And then the co-branding of materials is different. All of the contractors allow co-branding where the entity can put their state seal or logo on the training materials, but the amount of contractor control over that varies. The master agreements have similarities such as the terms and conditions, the prior notice, no prior notice, and inclement weather class cancellation provisions, instructor travel reimbursement where the contractor invoices for instructor travel. So the entity pays the contractor and not the instructor. So the entity is only dealing with the contractor. And it's important to remember that as, regarding your state's travel regulations, that those are negotiated in your PA. And the participating entity has requirements as well and is responsible to provide a classroom setting, the technology that needs to be used for the instruction, and also they're expected to market this program, this course, to their procurement staff so that they know that it's available. Ordering procedures are also similar between all of the master agreements. The participating entity will contact a contractor and discuss their needs. If the contractor can meet their needs, they will propose a quote based on contract pricing or negotiated requirements. And then the entity will process a purchase order, and then later on, if necessary, any purchase order changes. So I want to look at each of these contractors and their specialty or focus of training courses that they offer. And you'll also notice that the contact name and information is also listed. So BCJ Solutions specializes in negotiations and mediation training courses only. They don't They don't train anything else but negotiations and mediation. And they offer a Smart Negotiator training series, and they provide this instruction in the U.S. and out of the U.S. They travel all over to provide this instruction. And they're a small woman-owned business. The Center for Applied Innovation, or CAI, focuses on project management and procurement-related training courses, and they're a small business. And recently, in the last few weeks, I've had a lot of emails and phone calls from people wanting to know which of these contractors has procurement, project management courses, and this is one of them. Calyptus Consulting Group focuses on procurement-related training courses, and Material and Contract Services, or MAX, focuses on strategic sourcing courses and offers speakers and trainers with practical experience in procurement. So their trainers have public procurement experience. They've worked in the public and some in the private procurement field. The National Institute of Governmental Purchasing is nationally recognized by public procurement organizations, and I'm sure that many on the webinar recognize NIGP. NIGP has a partnership with UPPCC for certification courses such as the CPPB and the CPPO. Office Pro focuses on desktop technology and office skills training courses. So if a procurement office if the staff needs to have Excel training or maybe some advanced Microsoft Office training or other types of office skill training courses, this would be a good resource. Roadmap Consulting has a partnership with George Mason University and focuses on business-related curriculum, and they're a small minority-owned business. Sourcing Industry Group, or SIG University, is globally recognized and has trainers and speakers that are recognized as well. And they have a partnership with Forefront Group, who is a leader in strategic sourcing training. And SIG University offers access to copyrighted, nationally recognized programs such as Vested. And the Vested program is a very popular concept in procurement right now, and so they're often seen at conferences. Think Consulting offers business competency courses with a focus on business skills, team thinking, and leadership. And this is a small woman-owned business, so if you're looking for courses in team thinking and leadership, they're a very good resource. 2080 Strategy Execution is globally recognized. They were formerly ESI International, and they are endorsed by George Washington University. They offer several certification courses that can lead up to certification testing, but they don't do the testing themselves. They just have the courses. And they have a very broad curriculum of courses. And the Commonwealth of Virginia is using them to set up had used this company to set up one of our certification courses, and they did a great job. So you can find all of these master agreements at the NASPO Value Point website and type in training services in the keyword search, and this portfolio will be the only one that pops up right now. And here is my contact information, which you'll also find on the NASPO Value Point website, along with, it'll also be in the model PAs and in the MAs. So please feel free to contact me if you have any questions about these contracts. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to you, Tim.
All righty. Thank you, Catherine. Great presentation. So we're going to just talk quickly about the participating addendum process and how states and other political subdivisions can participate using these wonderful agreements. So as you know, all 50 states in the District of Columbia and the U.S. territories have executed what we call the NASPO Cooperative Memorandum of Agreement, and it allows them to use any one of our NASPO Value Point Cooperative Master Agreements. We have about 60 portfolios right now for NASPO Value Point, and all of those portfolios are available for all the states to use through that NASPO MOA. There's 3 options for participation. We always encourage option number 1, where a state will sign a participating addenda that allows everybody in the entire state, as well as the political subdivisions in that state, to utilize these agreements. Sometimes, though, there may be a situation where a state cannot utilize these agreements. They may have their own existing agreements, but they don't mind if other political subdivisions within their state use these agreements. So then they would sign option number 2, which would be a participating addendum that excludes state agencies but allows political subdivisions to use the contracts. And then sometimes a situation will come up where a state chooses not to execute any participating addendum. That doesn't mean that states or political subdivisions are left in the cold. Political subdivisions still have an opportunity to participate, but we first need to check in with the Chief Procurement Officer in that state to ensure that they don't have any objections. Now, this question comes up quite a bit. Well, the state of such and such doesn't have any authority over my city and what we do. And that very well may be the case in most states. But we are a cooperative, a state-owned and operated cooperative, and we're not going to compete against any in-state cooperatives that are out there. So if this state has their own in-state cooperative purchasing program for training for procurement professional services, we're not going to go in and allow or compete against that. So if we always check in with the Chief Procurement Officer for that very reason. Through the participating addendum, states and entities may select their contractors. We have 10 contractors to choose from. They can include their own state administrative fees and also include any other unique terms and conditions that are specific to their state. We ask that you only focus on those unique terms and conditions and not just throw in your standard boilerplate, because we do have a lot of the same terms and conditions covered under the master agreements, and it can sometimes get confusing to suppliers and delay negotiations of those agreements if you try to throw in all the additional T's and C's, especially if they're already covered in the master agreement. Identify what options are available for states or their political subdivisions within their states, and also if you have any specific in-state reporting requirements, you can require that through those participating addendums. I'm not going to read this verbatim, but in the end, it's direct negotiations between the states and the suppliers. The states will choose which supplier or suppliers they wish to execute participating addendums with. They will negotiate with them directly, and they will execute that participating addendum. NASPO Value Point nor Catherine in the lead state, we do not get involved in your negotiations, nor do we approve your participating addendums. We are available to answer any questions, though. If you're out there negotiating a participating addendum, and if you're questioning something that the supplier may be asking for, or if you're unsure of a requirement in the master agreement, feel free to reach out to us. Catherine's your primary point of contact for any master agreement interpretation issues, and I would be your point of contact for any NASPO Value Point participating addendum execution questions. So there's 3 steps and they're pretty much the same for opportunity 1 and opportunity number 2. Opportunity number 3 is where a political subdivision will want to execute a participating addendum, and that is where we do the check-in process. So if there's any political subdivisions that do want to execute a PA, the best thing to do is just shoot NASPO Value Point an email saying, we would like to execute a participating addendum with such and such. What we'll do is then we will have one of our members of the Education and Outreach team reach out to the Chief Procurement Officer in that state just to ensure that they don't have any objections with that political subdivision executing the participating addendum. And provided that they don't have any objections, then we will notify the political subdivision that it's okay to execute the participating addendum. And then once we have that PA back, we will then post it and log it. And it would be the same process as before. The political subdivision will negotiate directly with that supplier, execute that participating addendum, and send it into NASPO Value Point. Once they send it in, we'll also match up the participating addendum with the previous approval or non-objection that we received from the Chief Procurement Officer, and we'll post both those documents up on our website just to show that we did do that check-in process with the CPO. We have this flowchart on our Nashville Value Point website. It's just a great way of showing how the PA process works, and it shows the both steps if it's a participating state or if it's in other political entities within that state. Just some things to remember. We do have sample participating addendums located on the Nashville Value Point website under each of the master agreement portfolios. So they're personalized to each of the contractors, and they're called model participating addendums. We ask that states use that document and don't use any previous documents that you may have used for participating addendums. We want to make sure we have the latest and greatest and the cleanest documents starting out. We still every now and then receive some documents that come in that still reference WSCA or WSCA NASPO, and we're really trying to focus on, being Nashville Value Point. So we ask that you use those participating addendum models out there on the website to do your negotiations. We will maintain all of our participating addendums that are executed on the Nashville Value Point website, and then we also log them and file them in Dropbox as well. Participating states and entities will be identified on the map of the United States on each master agreement page at NashvilleValuePoint.org. As I mentioned before, Catherine and the lead state of Virginia and Nashville Value Point do not get involved with your negotiations. We are here to answer any questions, though. And we ask that you only submit completed and negotiated participating addendums with signatures from both parties to us. Please don't include us in any ongoing communications. We don't want to make the mistake of posting a participating addendum that may not be completely negotiated yet. And so we ask that you only submit those completed PAs to us once they're negotiated, and please send them in to us in a PDF format. So with that, my point of contact information is on here. You can reach out to me and as a starting point, and if I need to loop in one of our education and outreach coordinators, I will be happy to do so. We do have 4 E&O members right now, and they each represent different parts of the country. So if we do have a political subdivision that wants to execute a PA, I will forward those requests on to the appropriate education and outreach person. So with that, that is the end of our presentation. I'd like to open it up to any questions that anybody may have today for either Catherine or myself. Well, I'm hearing none, so I want to just thank everybody for participating on today's call. As a reminder, today's presentation is being recorded and will be posted up on the Nashville Value Point website a little later on today, along with a separate copy of the PowerPoint presentation that you saw today. I just want to thank everybody again for participating, and I want to wish you all a fabulous weekend. And I hope that you do find these new contracts beneficial. Thanks again for your participation today, and hope you have a great